What's up, and welcome to the Comic Blast podcast. My name is Keenan. To my right is Grayson, my co-host, and today we have a special guest, Grayson's dad.
Yeah, my dad is holding the mic right now, but hi, I'm here. But say hi, Dad.
Hi, Dad.
I think we do that joke.
Is that like the running joke?
That's the third.
I was about to say, I think that's like the definitive joke of this thing, that it's always like, hi, Dad. So
It is.
We need to make that as like a coffee mug. Just that's like his quote. Just hi, Dad.
I'm good with it.
It's his I love you 3000.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I want to merchandise this. We'll have to work on the percentages and stuff. But hi, Dad. That's me.
Right now we're at a 0% because we're making no money.
Yeah, pretty much.
So Grayson's dad's been on the podcast quite a few times now. 3 times? 2 times?
Something like that, yeah.
He did an episode with just me.
This is 3.
3. Okay, awesome. So he's a big Star Wars fan, big geeks just like us.
Yes, and there's a lot of Star Wars and Marvel news to talk about this episode.
Yeah,
we went 2 episodes that were like a drought, and then it was just like, all right, so here's everything and everything, like anything and everything.
We're given everything we needed.
Yeah,
and,
so this will probably be a longer episode than normal.
Probably.
But we wanted to get you on because it's like especially with the Star Wars news. That's kind of like whenever you're on, it's like that's the big like Star Wars thing. So.
Right, and of course, the big news today is we're sitting here doing the podcast on Grayson's 20th birthday. So
God,
I have to say happy birthday
to
my little boy here.
I thought you were going to say 21st for a second, and then I realized it is just the 20th. You're on your way there.
He acts like he's so old or whatever.
Is.
He's like a baby to me anyway.
No, I mean, like, Grayson's like great, but the thing is, like, it is a little bit weird, but Grayson is like really, really mature. Versus
thank you. I
most
appreciate
20-year-olds like that are just out there being crazy.
We deal with 20-year-olds and young crowd very often in our jobs outside of this podcast. So yeah, can't drink yet, but it's okay. I drink coffee, so
that's
it's
all
fine.
you really need, anyways.
Remember, I worked on a college campus for almost 20 years, so I know what 20-year-olds are like.
So Grayson and his dad, Mike, are sharing a mic today. Yeah. So if the audio sounds any different, that's the reason why.
Yeah, we're having to pass it back and forth. So there's times like I just have to sit here and be quiet to let him talk and then pass it back and forth.
Exactly.
So we'll try to
that's
make
the sacrifice we make to get some decent content going.
Got to pass back and forth the socrophone.
Why haven't we come up with that name for the microphone?
It's just always been the black pickle.
Yeah, that's true. The black pickle works better for that. So this past weekend was D23, or actually still the weekend. We're recording on Sunday.
I think it's like today's the last day.
Yeah, D23 news hit. Obviously, throughout the week, there was some major Spider-Man news that we're going to get to. And we're going to celebrate Grayson's birthday. Happy birthday.
Yes,
You're
thank
the best.
you.
Also, this is a surprise to you, but I actually got you something.
I did not know this.
So hold on.
I was expecting this, to be honest, but I was like, I'm going to feel bad if he gets me something. But like,
no, I wanted to. It's just a couple small things, but some new movies for Grayson.
No way.
Yeah, I got him Get Out and Shazam. I don't think you have either of those.
No, I do not actually. So you haven't seen?
I haven't seen Get Out. I haven't seen that one.
I had to get something nerdy, and I had to get something that's more like,
Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. You didn't have to do that at all. So
I had to make it a surprise for the podcast, but
yeah, that's true. It's very smart. Yeah. I like that.
Happy birthday, though. Everyone say happy birthday to Grayson on social media.
All of you guys have actually. I've already got like a ton of messages and stuff. I feel very like special today, I guess, because last year, like, my birthday, it wasn't bad, but it was like I was out in the sun for like 12 hours and I got sun poisoned and like nobody, like a lot of people like forgot to say happy birthday to me, and like you guys were out of town.
Yeah, we were out of town. We were in Baltimore for the weekend, and yeah, you got blistered though. You were like match the color of your shirt that you have on today.
Yeah, I have a bright red shirt on. So, I mean, granted, I got a lot of free food, and then I went home, and then I went by the grocery store and got a big thing of Oreos because I was like, I'm gonna treat myself.
You should.
Yeah, and then I watched Her for the first time, and I was like, I'm gonna cry to sleep.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That movie's so good. Yeah. So you got sun poisoning last, and this is.
No, my face was literally like a raisin. It was bad.
That's tough, man.
I went home and I had to shower, and I was like. Like it hurts so bad.
Have you ever? We're gonna get into the news in a second, but have you ever heard of something called the devil's itch?
No.
It's like a type of sun poisoning you can get that I actually got like 2 years ago.
Oh my god.
Essentially, it just feels like you're being attacked by fire ants nonstop.
Ugh.
And it's just like a tingling pain, and if you scratch even a little bit, it's really itchy.
Yeah.
If you scratch even a little bit, it comes back like 3 times as bad, burning. The only way that you can relieve the pain, it sounds weird, is to jump in a hot shower. So it burns, but it gets rid of that itching burning.
Oh my God.
So I had that. It was awful. Like,
how about you, Mr. Paramedic? Have you heard of this?
I've never heard of the devil's itch.
yeah, it's like, I guess it's like a slang term for something.
I've heard of
probably
the devil's
more.
lettuce, but never the devil's itch.
No.
Oh my God.
So like there was times I'd wake up at like 3 a.m, and all of a sudden like my body's just burning and itching. So I'd just like run to the shower, just turn on the hot water immediately, and just jump right in and let it burn me. Basically, it's like
oh my God.
awful. So
That's like the worst.
Why
Yeah.
why wouldn't it like? What? Sorry, I forgot to like pass the mic back. But it's whatever. But why does that like? Why would you not want to take like an ice bath or?
it just makes it way worse, like the itch. Yeah. So like the worst part was like on my back and my neck that I had it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean like it's basically pick your poison. Do you want this itching
Yeah.
feeling while also feeling like you're getting attacked by fire ants?
Yeah.
Or do you want just like a constant burn?
Yeah.
So like I opted for the constant burn.
How long did it last?
About a week. Yeah, I was pretty miserable.
Nope.
But let's speaking of misery, let's get into the Spider-Man news. That's
I like that little segue.
Nice segue. Yeah, nice segue.
thanks. So earlier in the week we had a small report. Didn't really
Started
make the
off
news
small.
that bad. Yeah, no, it started off really small, and then it just like
it blew up.
So, if you guys don't know already, Sony and Disney have decided to split in terms of character rights with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Which is really tough for a lot of MCU fans and Spider-Man fans out there. As soon as this story hit, like I went on Twitter's trending page, and it was literally like Peter Parker, Spider-Man 3, Disney, Marvel. Like there was
Sony,
nothing
yeah.
else. Yeah, that was it. It was like Miles Morales, Gwen Stacy, like everything was Spider-Man
Yeah.
on there. And I was at work when this happened, so I texted you, and you didn't think it was that big of a deal at first, right?
Okay, I don't know why, but I'm like, I feel like about a year ago I'd have been really upset by this news, and I don't know what it is. I'm like, yeah, this is normal.
You have accepted it.
Like I've just like accepted it so much. Maybe you know what it is. I've already dealt through the pain of them canceling Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. So at this point, I'm just like,
It's about time.
Yeah. I'm like, it's about right. It's about, it gets shorter every lifespan. Like, next year the Spider-Verse will get canceled, and then they're going to just delete Spider-Man as a character. They're going to go back in time and make sure he never existed. And I'm going to remember, and I'm going to be like, well, this is what I deal with.
Yeah.
So
What about you, Mike?
Well, I didn't really know how to talk about it. I didn't want to bother Grayson. I was afraid he might be too upset because we know he's such a huge Spider-Man fan. I don't know. I just kind of feel like it's going to work out. Kind of like, we
get a deal done.
Yeah, we didn't, we went so long with like, it's Spider-Man and MCU, and then all of a sudden, like out of the blue, they had just announced, hey, we've worked out a deal. So I'm just thinking it'll probably work itself back out. I did see that Tom Holland actually addressed it. I believe it was yesterday at D20, or not D20. He wasn't at D23, but he addressed it.
He was.
Yeah, he was.
Was he there? Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, and he said that, look, I will be Spider-Man. I'm still going to be in the costume. It'll just be different. So
here's what Kevin Feige had to say about the whole thing. He spoke to EW about it yesterday, I believe it was. He said, "It was a dream that I never thought would happen. It was never meant to last forever. We knew there was a finite amount of time that we would be able to do this. And we told the story we wanted to tell, and I'll always be thankful for that." So based on what he said and based on what Sony said, it sounds like they've kind of accepted that this is sort of the end for Spider-Man in the MCU, or they definitely don't seem like they have any plans for it because they've been pretty outspoken and just like straightforward. I feel like if they were really trying to work on a deal for this, they would just be like, well, everything's up in the air. We don't know what's going to happen. Anything can happen. And there's been some stuff like that around.
there was Sony's statement on Twitter, which they were like, we're hopeful for the future, but we respect their decision. Like, essentially, it was honestly more of Disney's decision to end it because they have so many properties now to work with, which we'll get into in a bit with even more announcements and stuff. Yeah. But even from the San Diego Comic-Con announcements, like they have all of this stuff that's their property and their property alone, especially with the Fox acquisition.
Yeah.
And now that's like Kevin Feige, I was thinking about it weirdly in the shower the other day. I don't know why. I was just, crying.
I feel like there's been a couple times you've brought up. I was thinking about this in the shower.
I think
I feel like there's been at least 2 more times that you've like said something like
it's
that.
Honestly, it's just it's where I think is the gym and the shower.
Okay.
And when I'm driving. Those are the 3 biggest places where I like to think a lot. But I was just thinking about it, and I was like, it makes sense why Disney would not want to invest in a character that they're not making all the profit on.
Yeah.
They could be focusing on Eternals, Blade, X-Men, Fantastic Four, Thor, all of these characters, and that they actually own and they get all of the money from, rather than getting 5% and the merchandising rights. Like, they're not getting, like, Sony is getting most of the profits from it. So there's a lot of like battle going on. I'm like, who's right? Is it Sony? Is it or is it Disney? And I'm like,
we should kind of get into that, because like it turned into a huge feud and debate on Twitter.
I mean, I understand where Disney's coming from, like Grayson said, because it's like, if I hire you, or not really hire you, I was like, hey, can you help me do this project? And the project's really successful, and I make $1 million off of it, and then I turn around and give you, $5,000 or something, if that much, and be like, okay, thanks, but then you've got all these other projects that you need to work on too. So yeah, it makes sense. It really does.
Like, when the report initially came out, I was more in defense of Sony with the whole thing, and now I'm kind of just like in the middle, because I understand both sides.
I'm the same way.
Because obviously what Deadline reported was that their report was 50-50. Hollywood Reporter came out with a 70-30 number.
Which is like, so one said 50-50, one said 70-30.
Either way, it's still it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
I understand when that comes along, I'm like, Sony doesn't want to lose all that money. I'm like, Spider-Man is literally the one character that they have. Like,
exactly.
And I'm like, and he's the biggest character. Like, why would they want to get rid of him? Because
also, what happened was that apparently Disney also wanted to produce the Venom movies and all the other like spin-offs.
Disney, wait.
They also they wanted 50% of everything Spider-Man. So they wanted to be able to co-produce the Venom movies, the Spider-Verse movies, like they wanted all of that stuff. And that's why I said from Sony's perspective is like, we just made a $900 million Venom movie. Whether you like it or not, we made $900 million off of it. So why would they give them 50% of what they've already done?
Yeah.
In terms of that. So that's a really tough position for Sony to be in. Like, how do you go to your shareholders and your like executives saying, hey, we're going to give away 50% of, our most profitable brand or character?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make a lot of sense. At the same time, I can understand why Disney would want more of that money, because they don't have the time and resources to.
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin Feige, he has shows to worry about now, and then he has all of these other movies coming up. It's a really tough position for
all of
each
these
side
announcements.
to be in.
He has so much on his plate in the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Like, a couple of years ago, it would have made sense. Like, he'd only had roughly 3 movies a year.
We actually were at the point, like, before the merger, which is, like, around Civil War time.
Yeah.
We were at the point where we're like, dang, they need to figure out what characters they're going to use, because they're going to be out of characters before and now they're just like,
there's so many
characters to worry about now.
I tweeted, I don't know if you guys saw, but I was like, breaking news, Disney is now canceling comics and converting them all to series on Disney Plus.
Seriously, yeah.
Like,
I mean, it seems
like they're making the most obscure characters. We'll get into that in a second, because I'm not done with the whole Spider-Man stuff. But like you were saying, I think it's makes sense. Like, inevitably, I think they are going to work something out, but I don't see Sony selling Spider-Man unless Disney bought.
No chance
they'd have to spend. They'd have to spend at least I'd honestly say they have it's been at least $20 billion to get Spider-Man. Spider-Man alone, and all of its properties and stuff. But the thing is, but even then, I'm like, Sony's gonna be like, I mean, the next 10 years we could make more than $20 billion off of Spider-Man from Spider-Verse, Tom Holland, Venom, Morbius, Craven, whatever.
Essentially, what the MCU did was already set up a character for them to just kind of piggyback off of. I was talking to a friend actually who came in, and we were kind of debating back and forth about who was right and what was going on.
Yeah.
And I was like sitting there thinking, I'm like, maybe the reason that Disney and Marvel put so much of the MCU into Spider-Man was to make it more difficult for Sony to feel like they would be able to leave, because they really they put a lot of stuff of their own stuff, and now that's the big conflict people are having. Is like, well, you already put all these MCU things in there. Like, how are you going to
so tied to the MCU, which is one of the biggest problems we had with Far From Home.
It's not even that. It's just like Happy Hogan became a big part of Spider-Man, but also Marvel essentially made up their own characters to put in Spider-Man's universe, which are technically they're MCU characters now.
Like Ned, like even though I don't think they've ever said.
I don't even think they could use MJ.
Yeah.
It's like remember how
because she's Michelle Jones, she's not Mary Jane.
Exactly.
There was the whole that whole thing that we were talking about. There was apparently this news thing that came out where it was like the reason they can't use all of these things is because of Sony's rights. Like they can't use classic MJ and Harry Osborn and stuff. Like I don't think they've said any of the last names of the characters except maybe Flash Thompson or something like that.
I've just heard Flash.
They've said at the end of Far From Home, it was on the little news card thing. It said Thompson at the end of it, the one where he's like, oh, whatever. But like you make a good point. Like they probably did that, and so I don't even know how Sony could even implement Tom Holland's Spider-Man into that universe unless they just go straight Spider-Verse and they're just like, nope, new universe. Like they they just transfer him over. Doesn't mention anything about his previous stuff, and he's just like, well, I live in this universe now. So that's the only way I could see it.
That's Grayson and I were talking about that. I mean, they're stuck. I mean, because they've got they can't mention Tony Stark, they can't mention Nick Fury, Thanos, any of that stuff that was just so huge.
Thanos and the Snap is such a huge part of Parker's life.
Yeah, well, even so can they even mention Mysterio and stuff like that? Now,
I think they can mention Mysterio.
You think so?
As long as it's like specifically
Spider-Man villain, whatever.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
It's the Happy Hogans, possibly MJ.
Right.
Who's his teacher? What's his teacher's name? He's probably in
the guy that's so funny. I can't remember his name.
It's Mr. Harrison.
Yeah,
Mr. Harrison. That's
like, you have all these characters in there sprinkled throughout that I don't know if they're allowed to even take. It's a tough position. That's why I said I wonder if that was kind of their like tactic in kind of making Sony, putting them in a corner essentially, and maybe that was what they were doing the whole time when developing these MCU Spider-Man films. They were trying to put as much as they could of the MCU in it, so that way it would just be hard to detach from that.
It sounds kind of dirty, but from a business sense, being a business owner, you've got to do what's best for your business, and that's because to me now they're either, it's like Grayson says, he's in a new universe. It's like, oh well, I used to live in this universe, but I'm not going to talk about it, or they've got to reboot.
They could really go full multiverse now, if they wanted to.
I mean, other than those two options, I don't really know how
it's going to be
how
weird.
to do that. Yeah.
The only saving grace from this that I could see is like, there's a guy that I follow on Instagram is like Trav Bryan Music. He does like these superhero raps, which are actually pretty good, but they're pretty interesting. But anyway, he was saying is like y'all are crying about Tom Holland leaving the MCU, but you guys are gonna love Sony when they do this. And it was him with like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man.
That would be cool.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that would get me.
I feel like I kind of like, Kevin Feige's statement was the whole thing was like, I'm grateful that we got to do it, and that's kind of where I'm at. It's like I'm grateful we got to see Spider-Man interact with a bunch of characters.
They're gonna go back and like edit in game, and he just stays dead.
Yeah,
that's what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to remember the one thing they can always do though is they can just have Night Monkey.
Yeah.
They don't need Spider-Man. We got Night Monkey. We'll just replace him.
That's an MCU character.
Like, imagine if they actually just changed Peter Parker's name. Like, after Far From Home, they get Tom Holland. They change his superhero name. They change.
And they change his this brand new character.
Yeah, just like he literally like he goes full like witness protection program. He becomes like George something. I don't know.
You would put George and Monkey in the same. Curious George.
I think that was what registered in my mind. I was like, he's like
Nick Fury's the man in the yellow hat.
Yeah. I think the thing that sucks the most, other than fans being fans have been awful this whole process.
Dude, okay, say what you said on Twitter about the.
I don't remember.
Okay, you were saying how Marvel Marvel
Oh, I
stands
said
have,
MCU stands have managed to find to make their own release the Zack Snyder cut with the
Yep.
save
Yep.
Spider-Man or whatever.
Dude, it's so annoying. Like, I'm one of the biggest Spider-Man fans, and like I don't think I have never said, tweeted, or anything about put Spider-Man back in the MCU. I'm at this point, I'm just like, let it go. I'm like, it'll happen when it's meant to happen. Like, I get people who are trying to be vocal about
Yeah.
it, but like, at the end of the day, like, that's why I do think they are going to eventually work out something, but it could be years
It
from
could
now.
honestly, it could take one solo Spider-Man movie that doesn't do well. Like, let's say they're like, let's do this third Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, and it doesn't do well. Maybe
Yeah.
they're like, shoot, let's just Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
Like, remember
Please
that 50%
help
you were
us.
talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
it may end up being something like that. So
I wonder if like people are genuinely going to boycott the Sony
So-
films. That's
then you're
petty.
then you're not a fan of the character.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're just straight up not a fan of the character. You're a fan of the MCU.
Yeah.
That's the way I
That's
see
the
it.
thing is I'm like, even me, I'm like, we went to go see Venom, and at first when I walked out of Venom, I was like, I was like, I can't see the sequel.
Yeah.
But actually, I'm like, now I want to see the sequel to Venom, and I'll probably see Morbius and all of
There's
that
some
stuff.
positive things. Obviously, Spider-Verse. I pitched my whole Lord and Miller taking over, like
Mm-hmm.
not maybe direct, but maybe like take over Sony Spider-Man, be the Kevin Feige of Sony Spider-Man verse or something like that, and have them, because they seem to know the character pretty well based on Spider-Verse. They nailed all of
They understood Spider-Man as a character. Like,
Yeah.
I was thinking about it, and all of our problems that we had with Far From Home as like the character of Spider-Man, Spider-Verse nailed all
Yeah,
of that.
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I don't know.
So it'd be
But-
cool if they got them somehow involved with the next Spider-Man. Maybe have John Watts still direct it, but
Yeah.
have them be producers or something like that.
I think this is just a scenario that, like, as time goes on, things will become more clear and fix
Yeah.
itself. But right now, like, it's so fresh that it's just like, I don't even think Sony knows what they're gonna do. They're gonna be like,
No.
because if they get the reboot again, people are gonna be mad.
There's no way they're going to reboot again.
Like, they've learned their lesson with, like, they've had to have learned
They
their
have
lesson.
the best possible actor for Spider-Man.
They have a young actor who nails the character of Peter Parker in Spider-Man. Like, he is an absolute fan favorite. If they reboot, like, there's a rumor going around though that they're going to reboot and they're going to get the other guy, Charlie Rowe, who was supposed to be, he was the second,
Next in line.
he was next in line after Tom Holland because
somebody's making that rumor up. I know they are.
definitely. I get so sick of these people who, like, they're like, oh, did you see this rumor? I'm like, somebody went on the internet and made that up.
Someone went into Reddit.
I'm like,
and typed something.
I'm like, is it from Hollywood Reporter? Is it from Variety? Is it from any of these?
Deadline,
I'm
yeah.
like, is it from any of these things? Then it's no. It's probably fake. Like, if it's not from a trustworthy source and you just see this on Instagram as like a post, like rumor, blah blah blah. I'm like, I'm sorry, no. Like, that's just.
Yeah, just like roll my eyes and move on.
I'm like, you guys got to stop. But anything you got to say, Dad?
No, well, I mean, I guess I like what Keenan said. I like what he said. You know, if you are upset about this too much, it's you don't like the character. Because I love the Raimi films and because we talked about it when you were out of town and I was filling in for you. You know, when I was a kid, the only Spider-Man you saw was comic books or cartoons. There was no live action. So when he came live action,
Yeah.
it was like, and then my favorite, even the Tom Holland, I love Tom Holland, but my favorite still is Andrew Garfield. Amazing
Sure.
Spider-Man 2 is just my favorite Spider-Man.
It's so cool.
So I'm like, if they go back to something like that, hey, I'm good with it. Just make a good quality Spider-Man movie. I don't really care that it doesn't have to be in the MCU.
Yeah, that's actually another thing I can rebound off of that. That's another reason why I've kind of accepted it, is that we have so much great Spider-Man content still coming out of the pipeline. Like, Spider-Man PS4 is getting a sequel, which is still one of my favorite Spider-Man
That's right.
stories.
Did you see my tweet when I
The look on Keenan's face, he looked like somebody just like a fat kid that just saw a chocolate cake that was all
Exactly,
his.
yeah.
He's like, PS4,
That's what
Spider-Man.
happened. So like that's the next day, the day after the whole news broke.
Yeah.
I was like, everybody else is like freaking out and like boycotting stuff, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just gonna go home and play Spider-Man PS4. I'm like,
Yeah.
like that's like my favorite.
The thing
Spider-Man.
is, I'm like, that's such a good version of the character.
Did you see like the people were like, we're not gonna get a PlayStation now, we're not gonna get the Spider-Man sequel or whatever. You didn't see that going around?
no.
Okay,
What?
there's like I won't name any names, but there's like one reporter scooper out there on Twitter.
I think I know who you're talking
yeah,
about.
who started that whole thing was obviously it was because there was a lot of pushback from people who love the Spider-Man PS4 character.
Yeah.
And his like retaliation was like, I'm getting an Xbox, not a PlayStation next year because they're boycotting Sony.
Is the same initials as Jesus Christ?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so if you know who we're talking about, that's it.
Okay.
But that person was leading the charge in the boycott Sony thing. It was like so frustrating.
It's so petty too. Like we were talking about it, but it's like, and it's not just people. Like it's just people like that that frustrate me. I'm like, I just wish there were more level-headed people out there that were more rational. Like I want the character back in the MCU, but I've got my comic books, I've got my video games, I've still got plenty of TV shows and cartoons and stuff, and then I have all of the films that we already have. I'm like, it's like
that's why I always say
grateful
they still exist. Like the ones that you love, you can still go watch them. So
really, it's the most concerning thing is just how they're going to go forward, and that's where I'm interested and skeptical to see. But only time will tell, I guess.
I think one thing that I'm kind of excited about it, to me, it gives the option of, I know Keenan and I talked about it last time, of Spider-Man growing up.
Yeah.
When I was a kid in the comics, Spider-Man grew up. He became an adult and got married and died and then came back from the dead and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So it's like I would like to see Spider-Man grow up because all we've seen is high school, early college Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
I hope we
think
get
so.
there.
That gives an option because it's going to be a while before Tom Holland can grow up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we like Spider-Man PS4 so much. Is like he's out of college, he's a very young adult, 23. But even then, like I love those stories of where he's like in his 30s, he's married to Mary Jane, like they live in an apartment together. They both have jobs. He's either a school teacher or he's a scientist or something, and he still has to deal with all these responsibilities. Like Aunt May is getting older, she's getting sicker, things like that. I love stories like that because it's just. I think maybe because as we grow up, like, you grow up with the character, and it's cool to just see Spider-Man, like, dealing with these real-life problems, and that's why the character is just so great, and why people kind of like Peter B. Parker, for example, like, this middle-aged Spider-Man who is, like, is really rough around the edges, like, he's divorced from Mary Jane, Aunt May is dead, like, it's cool to see like that older type of character, but Tom Holland does have a while to grow up. So that's what made me excited about the MCU is I was like, okay, they're going to finish this high school trilogy. Then he's going to go into college. And then after college, he's going to actually be an adult and stuff. But even then, like he's still going to look young, as a kid. But I don't know. Anyway, we have a lot of other news to talk about, so we talk way too much about Spider-Man.
We'll finish off the...
Imagine getting hung up on a Spider-Man on this podcast.
Yeah,
amazing.
that never happens.
So
let's get into the rest of the MCU news before we get into the huge Star Wars news. So Marvel Studios at D23 had a couple announcements to make. The smallest one was that Black Panther 2 is going to be released, and I think they said May of 2022.
Yeah.
So we got about 3 years, 2.5 years before that's released. I know a lot of people were like wondering where that was when they were announcing stuff at Comic-Con, so there's our answer with that.
I think they wanted to go with the heavy hitters and the new stuff rather than be like, oh, here's Black Panther 2.
Exactly.
And like we all expected Black Panther 2.
We all knew it was going to be coming. Big time gap, 4 years in between movies.
Yeah.
Seems like they're really
but then again,
doing that now.
Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
It's 2016, 2020. Like, I actually like the bigger time gaps. Like, that's what I'm like.
It helps when you get a bunch of content in between other stuff. So,
which you're going to get so much content. But, and they also said that this Black Panther 2 isn't even the official title of it. Like,
definitely not.
They said, like, it's very early in production, but they're like, yeah, it's happening.
It's just a little thing. Yep.
Yeah.
Other minor news is that, minor compared to who you're asking, but Kit Harington, Game of Thrones star, will be in the Eternals.
Yeah, he's playing Black Knight.
Yeah, pretty small character.
Yeah, I don't even know. I didn't know this character. I don't know much about the Eternals, but
Me either.
I remember there was a character, or there's not a character, a guy out there, and I'm trying to remember on his name. He works for Collider. Great guy. He knows his comic book stuff. Sure. Like one of my good friends. Do you know his name? Say his name again?
Coy.
Yeah, Coy.
Yeah.
He didn't even know who Black Knight was, and I was like,
really?
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm in the clear there. But like, it's like, he makes me feel like I'm like a fake comic book fan because he knows so much stuff. Like,
it's insane.
It's crazy. But yeah, the Eternals. At first, I thought Kit Harington was gonna play. We'll segue into like the next point of news. He was gonna play a character in one of the new Disney Plus series.
Yeah.
But I was like, the scoop was that it was a film, and then it was like it makes more sense that they would announce it for the Eternals.
Pretty cool though. Richard Madden was also in Game of Thrones. They were actually brothers in the show.
Yeah, he was. So Richard Madden was Robb Stark. Yeah.
And then
rest in peace.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the show.
And then Jon Snow.
Yeah.
They're like half brothers in the
Yeah.
show. So, maybe half brothers. I think they're half brothers.
Yeah. I don't know. I've lost all interest in even starting Game of Thrones because it's one of those shows that I'm like, if it's gonna end badly, then I'm not gonna watch the entire thing.
Smart decision.
So I'm honestly kind of glad I dodged the bullet on that one. Sorry, Game of Thrones fans, but
and then not real quickly, we'll get into the shows more. 3 new shows for Disney Plus was announced.
yes.
First being Miss Marvel, then we have She-Hulk and Moon Knight.
Yes.
Right off the bat, I'll ask both of you guys, which one stands out to you the most, or which one are you
go ahead.
most excited for?
I guess it would be kind of a tie between Moon Knight and She-Hulk.
Yeah.
I always thought She-Hulk was a cool character, and but then Moon Knight. I don't know a lot about Moon Knight, but I just always thought Moon Knight was like just freaking awesome looking. Yeah, it's kind of that Batman-esque kind of look to him and stuff, but like more mysterious or whatever. It's like, yeah, I'm kind of anxious to see because I don't know. Like I'm kind of like Grayson with I don't know anything much about the Eternals, and I've never read much Moon Knight comics or anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to those two.
Yeah, so Moon Knight is like number one for me because two of my best friends, one is Cole, whatever.
Cole.
Yeah, dude, Cole lost his
We
mind.
talked about that the time he was on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one character he went on about.
He was like,
we
Moon
just
Knight.
got to get this character made.
I was like, this is like it looked. I thought it was fake at first because I was like, we were eating like dinner and I was just on my phone because the panel was going on, and I was like, no way. And then I just texted Cole. I was like, dude, Moon Knight show. And he's like, wait, what? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? And I was like, and I sent him the screenshot and he was like, oh my God, Moon Knight show. And obviously I saw She-Hulk, which I'm also very hyped about She-Hulk. I thought she's a great character too. Especially she's really strong, but she's not like stupid like the regular Hulk because she's like a lawyer and stuff like that. But yeah, Moon Knight could be like, it could be groundbreaking because I saw people talking about different genres and stuff. So like when Moon Knight started, he was pretty much like a combination of Batman and Dr. Fate, where it was like very mysterious, like very like all of these different personas in his head, but also like was based on gadgetry and stuff.
Yeah.
Moon Knight is like one of the greatest characters in comics right now, especially like he has had so many great runs, especially that people have told me, because essentially the way he works is it's like Split, like the movie Split.
Yeah.
He's got all these multiple personalities in his head. Like he's got one that's for Khonshu, one for Mark Spector. Like one that's like really violent, one that's really tame. Like he has all of these personas in his head. So like he'll black out and like he'll go back and forth. So he's not like this just like, oh yeah, I'm a guy in this white outfit who loves the moon god, the Egyptian moon god. So I found out about Moon Knight when I was around 2008. So I learned about him when I was really young.
Yeah.
It was in Spider-Man Web of Shadows because he is one of the main allies. And so I was like, Moon Knight. I was like, who is this guy's wicked? And so then I looked it up and I was like, this guy's awesome. I was like, I love this guy. But he's like one of the best fighters in the MCU, has tons of great gadgets and stuff. But I hope this genre that they go with is like they get someone who can kind of do that whole Split thing. Like it's going to be a very psychological show, but also like can get really great action, hopefully Daredevil and Punisher level of action. That's what excites me the most is like Moon Knight would have fit in perfectly with the Netflix universe of the characters. And so I'm like, this is what it's definitely not going to be like R-rated. I know that, it better be close. Because
as close as you can possibly get it.
Moon Knight is a
just
bloody
for action
character.
Reasons. Like that's all you need it for. You don't need a bunch of cursing or anything like that. Just action.
Just action and purely like there's so many comics where he beats people to just bloody pulps, like bashes their faces in, and I'm like, that's the thing. I'm like,
it's the Punisher, basically.
I mean, it's borderline Punisher.
Yeah.
But Moon Knight interacts so well with the greater part of the MCU, and now that Blade is going to be part of the MCU and Moon Knight, we've already got Doctor Strange. So there's a group in the comics called the Midnight Suns, which includes Moon Knight, Blade, Doctor Strange, Ghost Rider, Iron Fist, and Brother Voodoo. and they are awesome.
Yeah.
I'm like, this could be the way for them to like introduce the Midnight Suns. What I think it'd be cool though if they did some variations. So instead of Iron Fist, do Scarlet Witch, and then if they don't have Ghost Rider in the greater whole of the MCU, get Black Panther. I think that would be really cool. So it would be Black Panther, Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange, Moon Knight, and Blade. That'd be their team. Cool. That sounds like does that not sound like the sickest team up of all time?
Yeah, that sounds like I don't know, just all that magic and yeah, that's just cool sounding. Yeah, really.
Yeah, I love like the magic and like mystic side of Marvel, and so like Moon Knight it's like not like Doctor Strange magic, but it's very like mystical and like otherworldly, and like it's not the space side. It's like the very like interdimensional, like Dormammu could pop up, Nightmare could pop up, like all of these things. But Moon Knight is a character that like has been getting a lot of love lately in the comics, and I'm like, finally, like these are the characters that they need to be utilizing. The only thing that's gonna suck is like Moon Knight was a very like he's like a C-list Marvel character.
Sure.
Now it's like he's gonna kind of lose some of that like that special touch about him because he's gonna be like people are gonna just love Moon Knight, and he's gonna be kind of like Loki or something like that, where it was a character that was very much like in the background.
Yeah.
And now like everybody's gonna love him,
especially if they get a good actor for it.
I think let's actually just like spitballing, like who would you want to play Moon Knight? Because there's a lot of people that they could play.
What age do they need to go for that?
I'm thinking like probably like 35 to 37.
Yeah, it's usually.
So the origin of Moon Knight is that he is a mercenary. He was in like on an expedition team in Egypt, and then essentially he gets called to be like Moon Knight. And so
I have no clue.
So a lot of people before Mysterio, they wanted Jake Gyllenhaal to play Moon Knight, which I would have been all for.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people right now that want Keanu Reeves to play Moon Knight, and I'm like,
I can't see that.
I'm like, no. I'm like, they need someone younger. That's the thing is Keanu Reeves is like
50s.
Like he could do a good job, but like he's just a little too old for the role. Personally, the guy that I want, and there's actually some talks about him. I mean, after the Simu Liu guy for Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
But the guy who voiced Red Skull in Infinity War, his name is Ross Marquand. He is an incredible voice actor. He's also just a really good actor in general. He was one of my favorite characters in The Walking Dead. He played Aaron, I think he was, and like I think he was like the first gay character on the show. But he was a really cool character, like super survivalist, but also like had a level head and was very moral, but wasn't afraid to like defend himself.
Yeah,
the guy's a really good actor. And I would love for him to play Moon Knight. And he expressed like some heavy passion for the character on Twitter. And he's already worked for Marvel before as Red Skull. And I'm like, I think they could get him. He's already been a TV actor. He's been in some like kind of like film festival, like lower tier films.
I typed in his name into Google and I went to the news and it was all like Moon Knight.
Yeah. So he's my top pick, I would say. Now it would be cool if the whole Taika Waititi Ryan Gosling thing doesn't work out, but Ryan freaking Gosling as Moon Knight, I'd be all for that.
Yeah, I'm fine with him doing anything he wants to do.
I'd get that guy in the MCU.
I love Ryan Gosling.
I hope that. But yeah, other than that, She-Hulk and Miss Marvel like doesn't do much for me because she's a very new character.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a character that was kind of forced. I feel like we should have introduced that a little bit later on.
They've been teasing that a little bit for a while.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I'm curious your thoughts. I'm almost concerned right now that they're going to be doing too many series. Like there is a lot of series happening.
So this is what you're going to have to do. I think they're going to get to the point where it's really tough to say. There is too many series for like people who like to see every single thing. I think what we're going to get to the point where we're going to get to is people are going to end up choosing what they like. And I think they're trying to make something for everybody.
Yeah.
And with the understanding that certain shows aren't going to be for everybody. Mm-hmm. So it's certain things are going to be targeted for a specific audience.
Yeah.
And people like you and I, like we'll all probably watch them, at least check them out and see if we're into it. But yeah, there's a ton of stuff. I'm not sure how connected all of it's going to be to the greater vision of the MCU.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking, from what it seems like, I don't think all of these are going to be shows. I think they're going to be limited series.
Yeah.
So I think
6
most
to
of them
8
are like
episodes.
6 to 8 episodes. We already know that Loki is 6 episodes. I don't see them doing any more than like 2 series or shows about Loki, and before like ending it, I'd much prefer it just be like 1 series and then end it there. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I could see them going like possibly 3 like seasons or series with that.
Me too.
Of like 6 to 8 episodes, and then possibly going no further than that. Miss Marvel, I could see them possibly continuing with that. Moon Knight, I could see them continuing with that.
I could see Miss Marvel going into like in and out of TV show and films.
Yeah. I think we already said she's going to connect to, or one of the characters is going to pop up in a film. So, WandaVision, I see that being a limited series. A lot of these, I just see them being like, this is 6 episodes and it's done. Essentially like a long movie, because it gives them a lot more time to like develop the characters. People, obviously, it sells them more sales for Disney Plus and things like that. But I don't see them like doing like Daredevil or Jessica Jones, where like it's like, all right, here's like 4 seasons of this show. Especially not like a CW show where it's like, here's 5 seasons of this show that's like have all these episodes. So, got anything to say?
It gives them an opportunity to make. It's like I said, they're long movies, and there's a lot of these characters that we've already seen in the MCU or have been hinted. It gives us there's stories to be told, but it doesn't need to be a big, huge blockbuster movie, and it doesn't need to be a 5-year TV show either. So
I'd rather them do like these limited run shows and then be like, this was one perfect like 6-hour run of this thing, rather than it be like, here in 5 years we're gonna have 5 seasons of this one show, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something like that. So I think that's the direction that they're going, and I just hope it pans out, and I hope it's not like an oversaturation, because that's the thing I'm worried about. Is I'm like, am I going to be able to watch all of these like and catch up with all of these?
So I think there's going to be some that you're just going to have to pick your favorites.
Yeah.
Unless they spread them out.
Yeah.
You know, and
if they spread them out like on a weekly thing, like, I mean, did they say
confirmed that it's weekly now?
Okay.
So they're not going to just dump all the episodes.
Okay.
Which makes sense for like a business.
They want
business reason, because they want people to stay subscribed.
Essentially, what they're going to do is probably one series. It'll go all the way. It'll end. Then a new series will pop up.
So that would make it easier for people to keep up with everything at the same time.
That's the thing, is like the big episode dumps. That's where it's like it can be hard.
That works for Netflix.
I think it's Netflix's style.
Yeah, I mean they charge a lot more. Disney Plus is going to be $6.99 a month, which means they need subscribers to stay subscribed.
Yeah. Speaking of which, though, they had this thing at Disney or at D23 where you could pay for 3 years for $140.
I saw that.
That's less than like $3 or $2 a month. I was like,
I think you had to be at D23
you had to be there to sign up for it.
Yeah.
It was like a 3-year plan, and I was like, I wish I would have done that. I would have paid $140 because there's just all of these shows and like movies and stuff. There's even things that like outside of Marvel and Star Wars that I'm like that Jeff Goldblum show. I'm like, I want to watch that, because that thing actually looks.
There's gonna be a ton of really good content on there. $6.99, and I think you can have up to 4 people, different devices.
Oh, that's good.
Streaming on it. It's like insane. So, yeah, that's a really good deal.
Yeah. So I don't have any other thoughts on the shows. So
I don't have a ton of thoughts on the shows. Like,
but I'm just very excited for Moon Knight.
Everything that got announced, even Moon Knight, I was just like, you make it sound appealing. I don't know a ton about the character to be like.
Moon Knight has just always been one of my favorite.
I'm never gonna be like the type of person that's like, yes, because everybody else is like, yes. I'm like, dude, I don't really know that much about that character.
Yeah, that's just one of those characters, like those characters that I'm just like, yes, finally, like Marvel is sleeping on this character, and they're finally gonna hopefully do him justice. So
that's cool. Let's get into the Star Wars news. I think we're all pretty excited to talk about that stuff.
Yeah. So what we leading with?
Yeah, real quickly, let's talk about Obi-Wan. We talked about Obi-Wan's series on the podcast last week, so we don't have a ton to talk about.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, but they did confirm it's 6 episodes. Obviously, Ewan McGregor is going to be there. He made his appearance at D23.
Did you see that
really
video?
Cool.
Did you see that video of him walking up on stage?
Yes, I am.
That was great.
Yeah,
I just had the biggest grin on my face.
Exactly,
I'm like,
and he was so excited about that.
I love his passion for that character. Like, like he had the time of his life playing that character from that 6-year time span from 1999 to 2005.
Right.
And I know he's just so thrilled to be back.
Yep. So they have finished writing the first season. So far, it's only one season as far as we know. But they finished writing it. They will start filming in early 2020.
Yeah.
So probably looking at a 2021
Maybe
release
we'll get
date.
a glimpse at Celebration.
We'll definitely get something at Celebration, I think.
Yeah.
So all really cool news. Also, they confirmed that it was
8
years after Revenge of the Sith.
So it takes place roughly. So they showed a timeline on D23 of like all of the Star Wars content from all of the movies, Rebels, Clone Wars, Resistance, and now The Mandalorian and Kenobi.
Yeah.
Also the Cassian Andor series, which I believe takes place 14 years or like somewhere around there.
It's 3 years before Rogue One.
Yeah, so that's going to be like a spy show,
Yeah.
which is going to be pretty cool. I'm actually really excited for that show now. But back to the Obi-Wan thing, like I think 8 years is like the perfect time because it's like pretty much right in the middle of 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Roughly, well, not right in the middle, but close,
yeah.
you know. So, but it takes place around that time. I'm like, okay, so that'll be. He'll look the right age, kind of for that Obi-Wan in particular, and I do like that it's actually only 6 episodes. I saw a lot of people that were like, "Oh, it's only 6 episodes." I'm like, dude, you guys wanted an Obi-Wan movie. I'm like, this is 3 times as long as an Obi-Wan movie. I'm like, dude, that's really
better.
great, and
Yeah.
I'd rather it be 6 episodes. I am a fan of like quality over quantity. And I'm like,
Exactly.
if you give me 6 hours of amazing Obi-Wan content, I will gladly take that over 13 episodes of like, that was good, that was mediocre, that was pretty decent, that was amazing, that was
a filler
bad.
episode.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. Yeah.
But you talk about your thoughts because you weren't here last week, so.
Yeah, I'm just excited about it because it's, you know, there was a book that came out that, and obviously it's a Legends book now, but
Yeah.
I listened to the audio of it, and unfortunately I never finished it because I had to return it to the library and never checked it out again. But anyway, it was about his time in the desert, and it was like, this is cool. I'm really excited to see what their official take is on what he's doing, because you know he wasn't just sitting around in a mud hut for 19 years like, okay, oh, hey, Luke's old enough now, let's get out of here and go, you know, destroy the Empire. But so yeah, I think this is really cool. I'm glad that McGregor's back. I mean, he's like just the ultimate Obi-Wan. That's just all there is. He did such a great job with that character. I saw a clip on, I can't remember the name of the show now. It's the British talk show where they all sit around.
I know what you're talking about.
And he was on there. It wasn't very long ago, and they were talking about lightsabers, and they pulled out some Force FX lightsabers, and he went to work with it, and still had it.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
that was really cool. So,
That's really exciting.
Yeah, I'm glad it's just finally confirmed. Like, this is.
We pretty much knew like the timing of it from last week was that this is pretty much going to happen, which is super exciting. Not a ton else to add to it. They didn't really release any information, but it looks like we're probably going to get to see something at Celebration next year in terms of footage. And I
know Cole is so happy because that's his favorite character. So like,
it's kind of becoming mine.
So
it used
slowly
to be Luke.
becoming, yeah.
It's always exciting to see, like, when somebody that plays a character like that has said all along that he would love to come back and play that character. So you know he's going to put his heart into it. He's going to do a great job. So yeah, that's cool about it.
Yeah.
Kind of like we wish Henry Cavill would be back as Superman.
Never gonna happen. What's sadder, Peter Parker away from the MCU or Henry Cavill never playing Superman?
This will be a shock to evergoing, but it's Henry Cavill as Superman.
I knew it.
Yeah, absolutely, Henry Cavill. Please, we got to start a petition because those work so well. We're going to start a petition.
Hashtag boycott.
Release the Snyder Cut. Hashtag boycott Sony. Hashtag Cavill for Superman.
Eventually, fans are they're gonna run out of characters to boycott, and they have nothing to watch anymore. So let's talk about The Mandalorian, which is probably the thing I'm most excited for. We finally got an official trailer or teaser from that. What did you guys think about the teaser that got released?
Incredible. The story looks just absolutely awesome, but the videography was, oh man, it was just, for lack of a better term, it was just gorgeous. I mean, it was just so clear and crisp, and it was cool. It was really, I was like, I'm excited for that. So that's going to be
The
really
establishing shot of the trailer, which I think it was the stormtrooper heads on.
Dude, the stormtroopers
spears.
heads on the pikes. I was like, this is made for people like for all the people who were complaining about, oh, Rebels is too kiddie, which then it got mature, and then people were like, oh, Resistance is too kiddie. I'm like, can you guys just shut up and now accept that the Mandalorian? I'm like, you have this now. You have this gritty live action TV show. Like, this is the first thing. This is what we've always wanted from like a underworld Star Wars. Like, and this is just, it's perfect. But yeah, like he was saying, the cinematography is insane.
As soon as that trailer started, I was like, this is for me. I was like, this is targeted towards me.
Yeah.
Which is really exciting.
And it still manages to, like, even though you were saying how it's like how clean, like crisp and like high quality it looks, it still manages to capture that first act of A New Hope where it feels so, the entirety of the original trilogy where it manages to feel really worn down and lived in, and like that kind of gritty, realistic space setting, rather than it being like, here's episodes 2 and 3 that are very shiny and pristine, and even a little bit of episode 1. But yeah, I mean, it looks. I'm really excited also for the action. It's just going to be
as far as
amazing.
the trailer goes, there's not one negative thing I think you can really point out about the trailer. The action looked great. Cinematography looked great. The characters bringing in new robots or droids, bringing in new aliens, like not new, but like aliens that we haven't really seen in live action. They've really brought. It's like Jon Favreau said, there's really something for everybody in the show. Like whether you're a fan of prequels or the original trilogy, sequel trilogy, the comics, the animated shows, like there's something in there for everybody. I'm just really pumped for it.
It looked really cool. I like the fact that to me, it's like a combination of like a Mad Max movie with a Clint Eastwood spaghetti western and Firefly all combined in one. It was like, it looks really great.
Yeah, that's exactly what Jon Favreau said. He said he wanted to bring out the Mad Max and the Western in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And speaking of like the Western, when that ending scene, because I'm talking about like the action and stuff, when he's in that bar or he's in that cantina, he gets the grappling hook, pulls the guy back, and then shoots the door to close it in on him. I was like, woo!
That really is something that you don't really see in Star Wars too often.
No.
It's like usually it's just like pew pew.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like that was like creative action right there.
Oh my God.
Like John Wick styled action.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. It's like we've always heard how the Mandalorians are these ultimate warriors, but now you're seeing this guy that's like, it's like John Wick. He can just like,
he's gonna find creative ways
they're all
to get what he needs.
Like
done.
in the John Wick movie where they're all coming after you. He's like, well, I'll just kill them all. Then it's like, this guy's he's just bad. That's just all there is to it.
He's probably one of those people, like I think of in John Wick 2, where he's like, he walks into a room and he knows exactly how to take out every single person in there. Yeah. Like he's thinking about it in his head, or like Sherlock Holmes or something, where he's like every step he takes, he knows exactly what he could do to take out everyone, disarm everyone, and get what he needs to get done.
I hope that action is there to stay like that. Yeah. I know it's.
I mean, I don't need it to be like a full-on action series. Like I really like the kind of just the feel of it in general. Yeah. But like if every episode has an awesome action set piece, like that's.
It just seems more. For lack of a better word, brutal than everything else that we've seen in Star Wars.
Very visceral and just like snappy.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want to see stay.
Yes.
It's like I hope they don't pull any punches or anything like that, because like when as fun as it is to watch space battles and like lightsaber battles in Star Wars, it's really cool to see something a little bit more gritty in terms of action goes. So I hope that's there to stay.
I think about it like in the Clone Wars, for example, like even that show had really like brutal moments, and you can, and that's what I hope. I'm like, I hope they make this clear that this show is for like maybe like 13 and 14-year-olds and above. You remember, I was talking last week about like how when I was younger, like I liked I was like, you know, when you start out watching Star Wars, you really like the original trilogy, like at least if you grew up with it as a kid. So like, you know, when I'm 4 or 5, I'm like, oh, I love the original trilogy and like the kind of the happy vibe of it. And then when I got towards like 7 and 8, I really loved the prequels were my thing. Like that's what I grew up with. And even when I was like 5 years old, like Revenge of the Sith, that lightsaber battle, like it's so intense and like towards the end gruesome. Yeah. And then when I got to like 9 to 10 and 11 years old, the Force Unleashed of just like mowing down through stormtroopers and like, I mean, like cutting them in half and apart and like just like destroying them. And then you get to like 13 and 14 and you're just like, I love like the kind of like this darker action side of thing, especially with like boys, you know, because I mean, I'm just like a nerdy kid who I'm like, I love the fights and stuff. Like even in KOTOR, there was like just this really dark stuff regarding the Sith and everything. So I just love that part of Star Wars. And so I'm like, I hope this is for like the 14-year-olds and above. Those people are
they
like,
should make that pretty well known when like before the episode airs or something.
The
like
trailer
that.
makes it very known that it's like, there are stormtroopers like heads and like helmets like on pikes.
Yeah. And
I'm like, this is a very dirty looking Star Wars. I'm like, I hope this is like, they make that clear that like they don't tone it back just because they know. Like, I mean, it should be accessible to like kids who are like 8 and above, as long as they're like with an adult or whatever. But like, I don't think this clearly is not made for, 7 and below, Yeah. So yeah, but I mean, I think right now this is probably, out of anything Star Wars, this is probably what I am most excited for, like bar none. And it comes out really soon too. November 12th is when it starts.
So excited.
I'm so ready. So yeah.
Awesome. Anything else to add for Mandalorian?
No, there's also there's this whole thing like the theory that people think it's actually going to be Boba Fett, and I'm like, are you guys like dumb?
No.
I'm like, it's not Boba Fett. Like, it's Pedro Pascal. If they would have gotten Boba Fett, they would have got Tamora Morrison. I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Yeah, I don't get that. I think just
tag me in whoever's saying that so I could tell them.
It was Jeremy Johns.
Was it? Oh my god.
He was just like, dude, I've never heard his voice. I'm like, did you not see the leaked footage from like he talks in that? It's Pedro Pascal's voice.
Yeah.
So unless they're trying to cover it up, but people come up with stupid theories. Like the Star Wars community. Granted, I love theorizing and all of this stuff, and we'll get into that in just a second with this whole Rise of Skywalker footage.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's a little too much. Like, you guys gotta stop. Learn your lesson from The Last Jedi. And like,
nobody got that stuff right.
I'm like, you guys gotta chill out. But yeah, what about you? Any other final thoughts?
No.
Okay, cool.
Solid. So I guess the last big thing that happened. Let's quickly we'll discuss Clone Wars. Clone Wars was confirmed to be
February
released.
2020.
Yeah. So
I don't know if that's going to be an episode by episode thing.
I think so. They should.
That'll actually, as much as I want all the episodes in one day and I just binge them all, I actually think it will have like a more lasting emotional impact on me to have it episode by episode.
They should just release it every Saturday morning. And then we can feel like kids again.
Actually, I would like it if they released it every Friday night, because when I was a kid, it was on Friday nights on Cartoon Network at 8 p.m. I was like,
they should just keep it up.
Yeah.
They should just keep it that way then.
That'd be amazing.
So that's just a little cool bit of news.
I'm so hyped. That one shot that they showed of Ahsoka like in the hallway and then Maul like in the front and center. I'm like, this last season is probably going to be like the best season yet, because the animation looks incredible. And like just they clearly went all out for this last season because they knew like how big of a fan base it has. So I can't wait.
Awesome. So, Rise of Skywalker time, episode 9. Indeed. Pretty much all of the main cast made an appearance at D23.
Yeah, even it's always funny. It's always the entire cast except Adam Driver. He just like doesn't want.
He doesn't go to any of this stuff.
He doesn't go to Celebration.
I always forget about that.
He doesn't go to like D23 at all.
Yeah.
He's just like, hey, what's up, guys?
Must be in his contract or something.
I mean, Adam Driver has been doing a lot of other films.
Busy actor.
So, yeah.
So, a major thing that got released was a teaser poster for the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, this poster is really cool, but then there's one thing that I'm like, it ruins it. Or not ruins it, but just makes it really... I'll let you talk about it, Dad. Yeah.
Were you talking about the fact that it kind of makes it look like Clone Wars, like kind of cartoony?
Yeah, or like Rebels or something. Like,
yeah, Rebels. Yeah, it was more like Rebels than anything. Yeah, it was kind of...
It looks like they got Palpatine from Rebels and then just put his face on the overlay of the poster, because he looks really weird. Like, I don't know if it's the way he's blended, but even people that are like big Star Wars fans, so I'm not alone in this at all.
Yeah.
But I'm like, why does Palpatine look like a doll? Like, I don't know what the deal is.
It looks like a very low quality render of like Rebels or something like that. Like it does look cartoony.
Yeah,
it looks kiddie in a way.
I'm also hoping that's not the official poster.
I think it's just a teaser
Yeah,
poster.
because the official posters have always had all the multiple characters
Exactly.
and stuff like that.
That would be really disappointing.
I think this is the equivalent of that Last Jedi poster that came out in Celebration 2017,
Exactly.
which almost looks like if you put those next to each other, they look very similar in that vein because like it had Luke's face, like it kind of out, which looked way better. Like that was that's still a great poster. I have it in my room. I'm actually probably going to put it up today. You gave it to me months ago because you hate the Last Jedi and always will apparently. But I'm like, why didn't they actually just get like a render of like even Revenge of the Sith Palpatine? Like I don't know what it is, but it just like it's like they got the CGI model and it was like the unfinished version. I don't know. Other than that, though, it's a really cool poster. Like I love the bottom part of it.
I love Rey and
Kylo.
Yeah,
on
that
fighting.
part's really cool.
Yeah, it's
just
awesome.
that one overlay. It does look like something I would have whipped up in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I hope
Photoshop.
I think it'd be cool if someone came out with like an official version of or no, like they redid it and they got Palpatine from Episode 3 or
Might
whatever,
do that
and then like you should.
Yeah,
Dude,
that'd be
get
cool.
on it, do it.
Yeah, I can do that.
See what it is. He did He did the one we're talking about, the one that came out.
Yeah, I feel awful.
So
now.
he's feel bad about it. So he's going to redo it for us. So.
You gotta give Keenan more credit. He's
I
really
got
good. He's
at
really
least I got
good
my
at this
check
stuff.
from Disney.
Dude, yeah, go work for Disney, Keenan.
Yeah.
Quit your job at the coffee
So yeah,
shop.
there was I'd gladly. So yeah, the poster came out. It's very split. I mean, some people love it. The poster.
Literally, it's split. I love the bottom half.
Yeah.
The top half, I don't.
Exactly. I think what's the coolest
It's
part.
kind of like The Last Jedi. It's split. It's two movies,
Yeah,
one that
exactly.
sucked and one that was good.
Yeah.
We can't get into this, guys. We can't do this.
I told
for
myself
years.
like on the way here, I was like, I'm not going to talk about it.
Yeah,
I was like, I
don't
can't,
do it. Don't
'cause I
give
could
in to the
easily
dark
talk about the
side.
Last Jedi. So
we're on to bigger and better things.
yeah, I think the coolest part is that they really just embraced that Palpatine is in this movie.
Yeah.
Or his presence at least is in this movie.
Yeah.
So that definitely is the coolest part about the teaser poster. I'm really just looking forward to an official poster, which probably won't come until like what?
I'm probably
November?
gonna assume whenever they came out with
I
the
think it was November.
yeah, they always do that.
So like around like
dude,
Force.
just speaking of like in Star Wars in general, before we start talking about the footage that they showed specifically, which releases tomorrow, by the way, so maybe we'll be able to talk about it a little bit more next week when they've actually shown it. At least that's the rumor that's going around. But like November time, I know I'm going to just get full Star Wars hype. Like, I'm going to be reading all of the books. There's going to be Jedi Fallen Order. Mandalorian comes out. Rise of Skywalker is going to be fully, started marketed. And then I'm going to start thinking about Celebration and then Clone Wars in February. I'm like, that once it hits November time, I'm going to be in, a perpetual Star Wars mood from, November to February or, even, April.
You're just gonna be playing Star Wars music every morning when you
Dude,
wake up.
Yeah, I played the Star Wars soundtrack at so I got a new job at a coffee shop and I started playing The Empire Strikes Back on my first day by myself at least.
Yeah.
Because I work by myself and then on another day I work with another person. But I'm like, this music sucks. I'm like, I'm gonna put on The Last Jedi or not The Last Jedi. God,
Sorry.
I got to put on The Empire Strikes Back music. I almost put on A New Hope, but even this past week, I watched a Star Wars documentary. That's how quickly
The hype
I got
is really
into
building
it.
towards it.
Oh my god! And also, Republic Commandos are being added to Battlefront 2. Did you know about this?
No, I haven't played Battlefront 2 in months.
I was playing it last night, and I was just destroying on Geonosis, as a clone.
Really?
Oh my god, I'm so good at that game. But it was me and Cole. We were at the top of the leaderboard. We were playing as battle droids, and we were just shredding everybody. But they're adding clone commandos, and they look so good. It's the same. Oh my god. Anyways, yeah. Back to the Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. So the poster came out. They showed off some footage that we didn't get to see, but we'll get to see tomorrow.
Yeah.
So by the time you're listening to this, you're going to be able to see it.
Yeah.
Footage isn't necessarily a trailer. It's just random footage.
Yeah, I don't think it's before we get to the biggest thing at the end, what was it? All of the stuff that I heard there was Luke has some voiceover.
They actually showed some clips from older movies.
Yeah, so they showed some Force Awakens and Last Jedi stuff. I think they even showed Leia and Han.
Yeah, they did.
Together.
Yeah.
They also said that I don't know if they showed this, but that Zori Bliss, the girl that Kerry Russell is playing, has a past with Poe Dameron.
It sounds like they almost took the route of remember when the first like Avengers Endgame trailer came out? It was like basically a Tony Stark voiceover of like, and it showed like clips
Right.
from all the older movies.
Yeah.
And, like, a little bit of new stuff, but not that much.
Was that the first or second trailer?
Maybe first or second.
It was one of the two.
It happened.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
It was a great trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like they kind of took that route with this. Like
That's what it sounds like, because it has voiceover. It even has voiceover of Palpatine with like new. I think it's new dialogue.
It is. Yeah.
Oh God, I'm so ready. I'm so ready to just to hear
Yeah.
that. I hope it's true that it gets announced. That's apparently what people have been saying, that that's what they should do with these conventions and stuff. Is if they want to make it like exclusive to what you looking at. What you looking
I
at?
thought it was raining, but it's just my eyes.
Keenan just looked over to the window
I
like
didn't know it
really
was gonna draw that
suspiciously.
much
Like,
attention.
I was like,
I know I jumped. I'm like, oh, somebody coming in to get us.
But no, like I think it'd be cool if like with conventions like San Diego Comic-Con and stuff,
Yeah.
and even Celebration, like the weekend that it happens, keep it exclusive to the audience, and then after it ends,
Like on a
release it to the
Monday.
public.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense. I think it's fair to both the audiences and like to the people that actually have paid to go there, and also the people on the internet that's like, so they don't have to see this
Not
bootleg footage.
everybody can make it. Yeah. I'm so sick of seeing footage like that.
Yeah.
But anyways, what do you want to talk about that's in that trailer?
You know what it's like it's gonna be. So
Okay.
So
yeah, Rey has a double-bladed red lightsaber and a black
You just
cloak.
ruined it. I was going to be like, are you going to talk about the double-bladed lightsaber?
Yeah. Every time I think about double-bladed lightsaber, instantly I think of obviously Darth Maul, but I
Yeah.
always think of Duel of the Fates.
Yeah. So when I first started reading this, like on Twitter, like I was watching like or
Yeah.
looking at like the play-by-play of it, like people tweeting it, and I was like, then I saw Rey has a double-bladed lightsaber. I was like, oh sweet, and then I read and is wearing a hood and it's red, and I was like, what? I was like, is this
Said
real?
A black cloak.
Black
hood.
cloak and hood with a double-bladed lightsaber that is red, and also apparently the lightsaber, according to someone that who's like very well known, it folds in the middle.
Yeah.
And I was like Pong Krells from the Clone Wars. If anybody knows him, he's like the guy who has two double-bladed lightsabers that fold like nunchucks. Yeah. I was like, is this sounds like fan made, and I'm like, this is real.
It's
like
so easy to speculate what it could possibly be, like the reason. But obviously, whatever we think it is, it's not that.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't show it in a trailer.
So I've heard two possible theories, and I just thought of something. God, I'm already speculating.
Yeah,
but
I
okay,
am too. Like,
so
I was just
so the
starting
first
to-
and most obvious one is that it's a Force vision. That
Sure.
it's some vision. It's not real. It's just like something kind of like with the Last Jedi trailers where they like showed like Rey or like Kylo sticking out his hand to Rey, like, you know, you need a teacher.
Yeah.
So it could be very much something like that, and I could see that happening. On the other hand, I heard someone say that she actually, so I believe it was actually Alex and Molly Damon from Star Wars Explained. I was listening to their thoughts about it, and they were saying, what if she goes to the dark side early on, because right now it's up in the air whether Kylo will be redeemed or not, and a lot of people don't want him to be redeemed, and then some people do. And I saw they were saying that what if she turns to the dark side early on in the film, okay?
Yeah.
And that Kylo does get redeemed, but not in the same way that Vader did. Essentially what would happen is she would get pulled over to the dark side and would be working with Palpatine, okay? Kylo realizes that she needs to be pulled back to the light, and so he goes to the light side because he realizes what he's done and tries to save her. And that's how he comes back to the light. And instead of it being like Rey saves him, he saves her. And when I heard that, I was like, that's actually pretty cool. I like that.
That is cool.
And what that reminds me of a lot is in the original Knights of the Old Republic, KOTOR. So you have there's a bunch of characters that are on your ship and stuff, but one of the main characters that it's with you and that ties into your Jedi story as you playing as Revan is Bastila Shan. And in that, she becomes part of the dark side. Or she goes to the dark side, and so Malak essentially tortures her until she goes to the dark side, and you have a choice. That's what determines what ending of the game you get. You can either convert her back to the light side, so you still have to fight her, but she becomes a member of the Sith, or you can join her and then go kill Malak and become the rulers of the Sith Empire. What it sounds like is very much something like that, where it's like she goes to the dark side, and then Kylo realizes like, oh my gosh, like what am I doing? Not like as simple as that, but it becomes like a very thing like,
some of the theory does
sense?
make sense story wise.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention they said somewhere in the trailer Rey says that she needs to go alone.
Yeah.
She's like talking to Poe, I think.
Yeah.
And she's like, I need to go alone.
Like, so what if
she goes to Palpatine alone?
Yeah.
He does something to manipulate her.
What if Kylo figures out about Palpatine, tries to stop her?
My theory, I think Kylo already knows that I think he's known that Palpatine is
because there's that shot. Did you see the leaked footage? Like the leaked footage from...
I saw a little bit. Like I saw him holding Darth Vader's
Yeah, so Darth
helmet.
Vader's mask pops out, and like you can see it again. I don't know. Like I want to speculate, but I need to see the footage myself before I can just based on descriptions. But
yeah.
Anyways, we've talked a lot. What are your thoughts?
Well, I was just thinking, like, well, one, if this is not a Force vision or whatever,
Yeah.
it's going to have to happen really early in the movie,
I think so too.
just to make the story work. Because, I mean, if it happens late in the movie, that was one thing about Episode 3. I was kind of disappointed in the fact that it took all the way till the end of the movie before you saw Hayden in the Vader suit.
End.
Yeah, I was so. To me, that would be kind of the same way. It's like, oh, you can't wait till the end of the movie. But, my thoughts on it are like, what if Kylo has known all along, from all the way back at The Force Awakens, that Palpatine, even before that, when he created the Knights of Ren, and what if he's just kind of been like a double agent all along? Because he's always said that one line of "I'll finish what you started." Well, what if what he's talking about, what he started, is
I've thought about that too.
Balancing the Force and getting rid of Palpatine.
Palpatine, but doing it his own way.
Yeah.
The only thing that I always go to that thought. I'm like, what if that is the case? But the only thing that really keeps me from thinking about that is why kill his father? Like, I don't understand the motive in that and how that works out with his overall plan.
The only thing I can think of is that's the only way that he could convince Palpatine that he was truly in the dark side, and that
you think he's already communicating with Palpatine?
Yeah. See, I think that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
I think he's like a double agent. He's figured this out a long time ago and is playing the other side. So he's like Palpatine, how Palpatine played the long game for 25 years or something like that, or whatever it was. That basically it's the same way with Kylo's playing the long game. Yeah, I've got to do all this, but this is what, in the end, this is the outcome. Mm-hmm. Maybe. I don't know.
It also really depends on if Palpatine is even still fully alive or not.
No telling.
Honestly, it's so hard to tell.
That's a big thing. It's like, is he?
Well, the thing is, okay, so we've seen Darth Maul get cut in half.
Yeah.
Fall down this huge shaft, and he was still alive. Anakin gets roasted in a lava pit, and he's still. We've seen so many characters that live from. I mean, but then, all right. So it's okay. Palpatine fell down this big shaft towards the reactor or whatever it is that he falls to. We've seen Anakin skydive out of one speeder thousands of feet down to another one and land on it. So it's like it's very. Easy that he could still be alive.
They could find a way to explain that whole thing.
Yeah.
It's tough. I think that there's more to Kylo and what his role is in the movie than shows.
Yeah.
It's more than just, I want to be the big bad guy. I think he's had some sort of motive the whole way along. It's bringing it back to the whole Darth Vader's helmet saying, I'll finish what you started.
Yeah.
Like, what exactly is he finishing? Like, in terms of that?
I don't know, man. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I mean, whatever we think it is going to be the opposite of it.
I hope it's not like a big slap in the face, like, oh, that sucks, So
I've been there and experienced one of those when I left a Star Wars movie. I won't go into details, but
yeah.
But I want it to be really satisfying, but also I think there in Star Wars there is a place for fan service. And I don't think it's like a bad. I think people tend to think fan service is a bad thing, and I'm like, if you do it right, it's not bad.
It depends on how it affects the story. I think
if it's
the story has to go before. Here we go into this whole thing, but I'm just gonna say it. The story, like it needs to be before it needs to be before everything.
Yeah.
If the story isn't good, and this is like George Lucas was a great, he wasn't a great script writer. He was a good storyteller.
Yes, he's one of the best storytellers.
Yeah, not necessarily he could build a world and he can tell a story, but he just couldn't put it down on paper.
Yes,
and make
yeah.
it,
That's a great way to put
really.
it.
So, George Lucas, the story was. Every documentary he watches, like the story has to make sense. These characters have to make sense. And going back to fan service, which I think The Last Jedi had a ton of fan service. Yeah. I don't think the story was there. I think the story was way behind. The story was behind. It felt like the message was more important than what the story was, and it felt like the fan service was above the story in The Last Jedi. For me, the overall story was lacking.
Yeah.
So I felt like when it came to that, it was all about what message can we put out there, whether it be about learning from your failures and stuff. Like, it just didn't flow with the story. Anyways, back to your thing. Fan service, it's a really good thing as long as the story is also, like, it's taken
That's
care
what
of.
I think, why The Mandalorian is going to be really successful is that, like, it's a very clearly a fan service based, like, there's going to be a lot of fan service in it, but also I don't think Dave Filoni and John Favreau?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I was like, is it not? It's not John, is it? Yeah, it is. Yeah. That's. I was like, why? I think I was in my head spelling it John, and it's.
It will mess you up if you do that.
And I was like, no, that's not John. And then I was like, wait, no, it's Jon Favreau. Anyway, I think they know how. Dave Filoni knows how to tell a story, and Jon Favreau is a great director.
Dave Filoni learned from.
George Lucas himself. Like, that's what
Yeah.
I always will say is Dave Filoni is like, he should be in the head of like when it comes to like the big
creative things.
yes, God, because he's so good.
Yeah.
He's so good with Clone Wars
He
and
understands
Rebels.
Star Wars more than anybody there right now.
He does. Like, he gets what
Sometimes
Star Wars
I think
was
it's a
found-
miracle that he's still there.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's crazy because he tells all of his inspirations, and I'm like, that's where George Lucas got his inspirations from old Japanese Kurosawa movies and westerns and like space operas and stuff. That's where George Lucas got his visions from, and Dave Filoni gets that and understands it. Like, he's clearly
They get the
influenced.
hero's journey. Like,
Yes.
They get it.
Yes. So that's why I think Mandalorian is going to be really successful, and I think J.J. Abrams also understands it pretty well because he's a great director.
Yeah.
I just hope that this film pulls everything together. Like, I honestly think that depending on how this film goes, how its story comes full circle, that it could enhance the entire trilogy. We could go back to be watching The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi and be like, oh my God. Like, and so that's what I'm really hoping for. I don't want to get my hopes too high.
If it nails the ending and wraps everything together, then I feel like I will be less upset about The Last Jedi. Like, for me, it'll be like, well, this is my Attack of the Clones. You know, it's just that movie in the middle that you just kind of get through, but you need it for the story, and everything like that. For me,
I feel like probably at like the end of Attack of the Clones, like when that movie came out, because pretty much for most of my life, all the Star Wars movies have been out, right?
Yeah.
At least episodes 1 through 6. So it was like, but I can imagine like coming out of episode 2 and being like, well, that sucked up until the end, and then like, but like, it was like that Jango Fett fight was pretty cool, and the Battle of Geonosis. But God, Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman's relationship was garbage.
Awful.
Like,
God, that was such painful to watch. I remember like trying to think. I can't remember if I took you initially to see that or not, because that would have been, you would have been like 3 or 4 or something like that. Yeah. And I just remember sitting in the theater going, this is terrible. I'm going to throw up.
Lightsabers already.
yeah.
Cut somebody in half. Come on.
It does have one of the best
Bring
lightsaber
back Darth
fights.
Maul.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But I'm just ready for like this movie. I'm like ready for it to get into full marketing mode, because I just remember like back when The Force Awakens and Last Jedi were coming out, like how excited I was. I miss that excitement, but I just hope it doesn't go to waste.
I don't want to get hurt again.
I can't do it.
Don't let me get too excited.
Okay,
like,
at the very
least,
least, even if it's, I can't. No, I can't. Even if it's trash, I'm still gonna be upset. I'm like, it's not gonna be trash. Like, J.J. Abrams did a great job at The Force Awakens.
I just want everybody to be happy about the movie. Like,
Yes.
When The Last Jedi came out, it's like It's like how the Spider-Man fans were this week. I freaking hate when people are split and divided on that.
It's one of the worst things.
I just want everyone to go see this and be like, "Oh, that's actually really good,"
Yeah.
or "Oh, I had fun doing it."
I want people to be excited about Star Wars again. Not even just like super geeks
The
like us.
Mandalorian is going to be something I think that's going to bring people back in.
Yeah.
The original.
Dude,
trilogy
if
crowd.
Mandalorian is fantastic, I'm gonna be going around school and be like, you need to watch the Mandalorian. You need to watch the Mandalorian. Like, we gotta bring
you
back
can get
Star
people
Wars.
into Star Wars through that show.
Yeah.
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 So.
Anything else to add? This is a fun episode.
No, I mean, I don't really think so.
Awesome. Well, that's going to conclude this episode of the Comic Blast podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at comicblast_.
But I have one thing to add.
Okay.
J.J. Abrams, as my birthday gift, make Star Wars Episode 9 amazing. All right, there you go.
All right, we'll tag him in this episode. You can listen to it.
Let's everybody just send this to J.J. Abrams. Send it to Bad Robot. Send it to Lucasfilm. John Favreau.
WB now.
Just send it, yeah.
'Cause he's got like a contract with WB now.
Wait, really? Oh, yeah, we
He's
talked
got
about
a
that.
huge deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Subscribe to the podcast, all that good stuff. Thanks, Mike, for being on the episode again.
Thanks for having me. Enjoyed it as always.
Yep.
It seemed like I was a little more quiet this time, but
It's
passing the
mic
microphone back and
Yeah.
forth. So, but yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks for Grayson's birthday present because I
course.
know I'll get to enjoy both of them.
That's what I figured. It was a birthday present for everybody.
Yeah, you get the digital copies.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, anything else I forget to add on that?